Welcome to the Diverse Minds podcast shorts, summer shorts series. We're really pleased to have you join us as listeners, and I'm really excited for this episode with Christiane F. Nunes, who's going to talk to us about her groundbreaking work in the US, all to do with feminism, mental health, and race equity. So, Christiane, a
Yeah.
huge welcome to the show. Could you let our listeners know who you are, where you're based, and the work that you do?
Yes, thank you so much, Layla, for having me on. My name is Christiane F. Nunes. I'm the founder and CEO of Equity Bound Solutions, which is a consulting firm that does proactive, equitable solutions centered around anti-oppressive and anti-racist lens work to help organizations and groups create these solutions in advance instead of reactionary. And we also do a lot of social impact work. And I also am the founder and president of a nonprofit called Saving Ourselves Foundation, which focuses on creating a space where we're eradicating gender-based violence.
Amazing. And so you are championing equity, diversity in your work all the time. And I wondered
Yes.
if you wanted to say anything about your cultural heritage and your own personal identity and how that shapes the work that you do.
Sure. So I identify as a African American, Black, cisgender, heterosexual female, um, mother, business person, single parent, and yeah, educated first generation to go to college in my family, and working all the way to doctoral level. So that's kind of how I identify myself in my background.
Yeah, and how does that shape the work that you do, Christian?
It definitely shapes the work that I do. I mean, it's my daily lived experience. Everything that I exist is wrapped up in diversity, equity, inclusion, accessibility, injustice work. So it's one of those things where political is personal for me. And I can't separate the things. I have to, the same things that I need for my life, I feel that I have to represent in the work that I do so that for those who may not know the knowledge I know, I can be able to share that knowledge to help, provide that equity that needs to exist.
Yeah, thank you. And you have two strands of work, as you helpfully outlined to us, the social justice within organizations and then the ending gender-based violence. Now, given where we are in the world right now and what's going on, particularly, socio-politically, how do you keep on going on in those circumstances when we are experiencing a lot of barriers and pushback?
Yeah, that's a great question, Layla. But for me, it's important because these problems are not going away anytime soon. Even before in the United States, we had such like huge pushback like we're having right now. These problems still existed. I think now with our administration being so anti DEI, it makes it more difficult and more challenging because it feels like the behavior is being excused, right? So racism is being excused, homophobia is being excused, Islamophobia is being excused. Those things are being excused in these conditions right now. And that makes it very challenging to do this work and for organizations to do this work. Because on top of it being, and the administration emboldening those things, there's also fear of retaliation that's
Mm.
existing for these companies. So they're fearing of funding being put on blacklists, and things like that, which could hurt them in general. So as they might want to continue, a lot of fear of how they were able to sustain this organization when there are things coming out from administration saying, here's a list of 100 words. If you have any of these words on here, you cannot get this, or you are considered woke, and then threatening what will happen. We'll take away your nonprofit status. We'll do these things. That's a very hard place to be in an
Mm.
organization that is trying to do good work. Um, but we have to have people who are willing to be like the activists and the leaders and willing to bend the arc. We have to have people exist like that, right? And I think when we do that, and I consider myself one of them, like I'm going to stay authentic, I'm going to stay committed to what I believe in. I'm going to stay committed to the fact that people deserve to live in a world safely, freely, without fear, without retaliation, without violence, without these things. I'm going to be stand even deeper, 10 toes down, in that commitment. Because if I don't, if some people don't, then that just really puts our world in a place that's just really horrible and devastating.
Yeah, and so given that and given the work that you do, how do you look after and support your own mental well-being to be able to do the work that you do?
Yeah, so I mean, I am a therapist by trade too. So I have a huge basis for just believing in the need to self-care. But for me, I do the work and I make sure that I set my boundaries and I take time for myself. And I know that I can't change everyone, but I can change somebody, right? And I look at it like that. Like our goal is that we go into it because we know what we're doing is important. So me, I have to make sure first I'm protected. I have a child. He's a 7-year old, so I'm raising him. He's my first priority. So anything I do, I have to make sure that I'm in a good position for him and that he gets the best of me. So I take boundaries. I take time. I make sure when it gets too much, I take a break, and a break where I don't have guilt about it. Like I think that's the most important part. Like
Mm,
take your break and don't have guilt about taking a break, knowing you need space. Knowing you need a day off, knowing you just need to not read or watch the news today because you're going to hear some nonsense. Like that's just what I do. And then I save certain times like this is for myself and my son and our family. And then I get back into work. So that's just kind of what I do to maintain a balance. It's taken time in my life to get there because everything feels on fire, right? Right now,
mm.
and a world feels on fire. So it's really easy to get consumed by it, but we can't, because if we're not our best selves, we can't service this.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Christian, for joining us on the podcast Summer Shorts. And if people want to get in touch with you, find out about your business and also your non-for-profit, how should they do that?
Sure, you can. My website, it's very Beninese, so it's www.equityboundsolutions.com. And the nonprofit, if you're interested in working with gender-based violence, is www.savingourselvesfoundation.org. And easily you can reach me on Instagram, Christiane F Nunes _official, and that's how you get hold of me.
Brilliant. So thank you so much. We're really honored to have you with us and wishing you a beautiful summer, the rest of the summer. And thank you, listeners, for joining us.
Thank you.